Hello and welcome to this short tutorial on grenades, how to make grenades and one possible solution in a way to make a grenade. So this is an accompaniment to a longer tutorial where I go through step by step the exact process that I used to create a grenade from scratch. But just to summarize in this tutorial, what we have is this grenade over here. And the way that we've made this is we've essentially made a template of the grenade. And at the core of the template is a tennis ball, and then I've added a grenade mesh over the top of the tennis ball. And this is because I wanted to have something you can hold, so the player can hold a tennis ball, in using the API. But I also wanted to have a specific position for the grenade. So I didn't want the grenade to be the thing you hold because I might want to tweak the position. And in fact, I tweaked the position to minus 8.35 on the Z-axis. So that's my grenade template. And we also have an explosion effect and a trail. It's really good to have a trail with something small like this that you're going to throw through the air so that you can keep track of where it's going, or your player can keep track of where it's going. So once I made the template and made the physical part of the template, I sort of started looking into the coding aspect. In order to make something that you can pick up and have in your inventory, there's a couple of things you need. One of them is the pickup spawner script. So you need that because what that does is it handles the logic for holding the thing and picking it up and all of that stuff. And in fact, respawning it in the game world so that another person can pick it up later. And the inventory item spec script as well, it needs that, which basically describes what this item is in the inventory at the bottom. So it's kind of more to do with the UI. And then I created a grenade script. So once the pickup spawner script and the inventory item spec script were attached to the grenade, it meant that you can now pick it up and you can have it in your hand and you can change to it as one of the weapons on your inventory. Which I can actually show you quickly. So here you can see that I now can hold the grenade and I can switch to it from another thing in the inventory. Now that bit was taken care of, that was the first step, and then the next part is to really look at the logic behind a grenade. And so this is where I started talking about the fact that this is one possible solution to the grenade problem. So something that I really like about the game mechanic of a grenade is that you can click and hold and cook the grenade while it's in your hand. So you've taken the pin out and the fuse is running down, and then you can time it just right to get that throw just right. And I really like that mechanic because it's a bit of risk reward. So the risk is that it could blow up in your hand, or you could throw it and it blow up too soon to your too soon or too close to the player. So that's the risk. But the reward is that you could throw it and it could blow up without even hitting the opposing player. It could blow up in their face, and you could get a higher impact score basically for a higher amount of damage for that. So that's the risk reward that I really like about some grenades in games. So I set about making that, and the way I did it was I used the on button press to sort of remove a pin from the grenade. Which is just setting a boolean to false. And then I did on button release to throw the grenade. When you throw the grenade, what happens is it's kind of a chain reaction. So with the pickup spawner script, you have a grenade in the game world. And when you interact with that grenade, you pick up the grenade. But actually what happens is you're turning off the grenade in the game world, so it disappears for a short amount of time. And you're actually spawning a new grenade in the person's inventory. And then when the person is holding that grenade, it's created that grenade in the game world. And then when they throw it, it actually removes that grenade from the person's inventory and destroys it. And then it spawns a new one into the game world. So that's what happens when you throw the grenade. It's sort of a chain reaction. There's actually 3 grenades. There's one in the game world, which you can pick up. There's one in your inventory, which is when you've picked it up, it gets spawned there. And then there's one that when you throw, it instantiates another one. And you can see that I'm doing that just here. It says throwing grenade equals get world spawn, blah, 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 blah. So I create a new grenade, and then I attach it to the player and detach it so that it's in the correct position. And then I use some of the Crayta API stuff, get look at, which gets the direction the player is looking. And then I send fire the grenade on an impulse in the direction that the player is looking, so that it's basically, by firing it on an impulse, it's giving it a bit of force so that it can fly through the air. And by making sure that the physics is turned on the grenade, it will give it that nice arc, so the gravity will take over as soon as they've thrown it and it leaves their hand. So it gives it a bit of an arc. So that's the sort of the throwing grenade logic part of it. And then once it's been thrown, and it's sort of, once the pin has been pulled out, I should say. So when the pin has been pulled out, even if it's in your hand, even in the player's hand, then it starts counting down this timer. And then when the timer reaches 0, it explodes. So there's kind of two things going on. One is that the grenade is counting down until the player releases until the counter reaches 0. So it's counting down until the timer reaches 0. And at any point, if the player releases the button, it will fly through the air, but it won't stop that countdown. So when we generate our new grenade, or we spawn our new grenade, we actually are sending it the amount of time left. Here you can see I'm sending it the amount of time left on the timer so that it will blow up at the correct time. Yeah, basically. So that is one solution to the grenade problem. The explosion part of it is the same as what I've done previously, where I essentially turn the grenade off and I turn on an explosion effect and an explosion sound so that it looks like an explosion has occurred, and then also applying some radial damage to the game world, which will just damage anything within a radius of that. So here you can see I'm doing apply radial damage there. And I use this sort of method over and over again. It works for me, although if you found a better method or one you prefer to use then to make things explode, then by all means go that direction. And like I say, this is really for the game that I'm working on here, and it works for this game, but you might want a different grenade. You might want a smoke grenade, or a grenade where you don't cook it, where it just explodes when it hits something. So you might need to write your own logic for that kind of thing. But the basic chain reaction is the most important part, which is, picking something up and then it going in your inventory and then being able to throw it. And if we test it, you can see while it just builds the map, there we go. So here I am, and I've got a grenade in my hand, and I can run around and throw the grenade, and it explodes, and I'm now cooking it, and if I throw that explodes in the air, and if I cook it too long, it explodes in my hand, and you can see that it's damaging me. So that's the grenade, or one solution to the grenade problem. There's not too much like custom scripting. It's just one script, and it gradually increased in complexity as I went through it. So by all means, there's simpler solutions to this as well as more complex solutions to this. But if this is interesting to you, have a look at the longer tutorial where I go through it step by step. Or if you like, you can take what I've talked about here and try and imagine your own way of solving this problem, thinking about some of the concepts that we've discussed here. And good luck with that. And I look forward to seeing your grenades, and I look forward to seeing you in Crayta.